Well, I think the airport expansion at this particular time is not going to happen. I would not want to see the Black & Decker building be torn down for airport expansion. I've also talked to people in the neighborhood that would have been affected had they put up high-intensity lights and their homes would have been taken. I was adamantly opposed to that. I've spoken with the airport manager and let him know my position on that. I think the airport's an important component in our community, but it needs to live within its means, and it also needs to live within its footprint at this time.
I agree. The airport is a primary economic driver for Talbot County and the town of Easton. I'm absolutely opposed to taking anybody's home. I'm absolutely opposed to taking down the Black & Decker building. I think that whatever improvements need to be made to the runway can be done, and we still have plenty of room for safe zones and stop zones and whatever else they call them. But we do have a lot of people that depend on the airport for employment, for transportation, and it's also a carrot if we're out, I'm sure, trying to bring businesses into Talbot County that would depend on the airport. I know some of the issues going around now about a food distribution network are going to rely heavily on transportation through the air. So there was an option 7, I think it was, that the Talbot County Council had a few years ago, which allowed for everything they wanted except extending the runway. Oh, I'm running out of time. Except extending the runway, and I think that was the option that should be addressed more fully and should be more quickly vetted.
I think there are more qualified opinions at this table who have reviewed in detail the information for me to be able to comment on. It would be silly at this point. But if I were elected mayor, I'd go back and dig in and find out every detail so that I could review what changes have been proposed or not proposed.
I was on the county council when this was initially proposed, and it was a 10-year project. So don't buy the idea that it has gone away. There were 3 aspects to it that were deleterious, I think, to the town of Easton. The first was obviously knocking down the Black & Decker building, which at the time had 300 jobs in it that were going to be lost. The second was knocking down people's houses. The third was bringing air traffic 1,000 feet closer over the town of Easton. It was just a bad idea. And who did it benefit? It benefited about a dozen people, not who would be able to land bigger planes, because when we got the FAA fellow down here to explain the situation, the size of the plane has to do with the depth of the runway more than the length. But it had to do with whether they'd be able to take off with a full tank or something less than a full tank of gas, would we be, and we would lose the revenue from selling that extra gas. I don't think that's a very good trade-off for people's homes. The first project involved knocking down part of Hyde Park and the Ford dealership. And when that kind of fell apart because the people out there came into us and said, we don't want this, eventually it moved around in the direction of Easton. So I think the third aspect of this, even if you can save the building and they don't actually take the houses, the question is going to be, are the people going to want to live in those houses if you're bringing traffic in over top of them in a way that harms their quality of their life?
I agree with Mayor Willie and Mr. Silverstein. The airport is a true asset to our town, and it is vital for new businesses that we're recruiting and looking to bring to town. This is something that's very important. And I don't see any changes that are necessary where there's no room to do the change the airport as it now exists. That's my position on it.
I too agree with Mayor Willie and Al. I also feel that by some of these proposals here, we all sort of kid about that movie, The Airport, where people moved in around the airport and complained about it. Well, here we have a situation where people were living there and they want to expand the airport to make their life more miserable. So there's no way that I would ever possibly go for something like that.